Jillian, too often we just talk about success. I personally believe that we can learn the most from failure, crisis, obstacles, however you prefer to call them. So, what was the biggest thing? What was the biggest thing?
Tragedy, pandemics.
Yeah, right. So, I'm sure you also had some things on your way. So, what was the biggest thing? And that in that time you thought, why does that happen to me? But with a view from today, you would say, I'm so glad it happened because I realized it didn't happen to me, but for me and for my success.
Yeah. Well, first off, you have to frame any failure, loss, setback with meaning, which means you've got to look for the lesson. I'm a firm believer in that. You can't expect it to reveal itself. Well, it might, and you might go, "Oh my God, hindsight is 2020." Like this person, 2020 vision, not 2020 the year. But you might think like this person broke up with me, and had they not, I never would have met this person, right? But in some cases, forgive me, dog barking. I apologize. This is the COVID work at home inconvenience. By the way, a 13-year-old dog who thinks she's Cujo. And she's about 20 pounds. Like, I want to just explain to her that, like, the guard dog thing is not for her, but it hasn't worked yet. So, back to the point that, while, yes, you may be rejected by a job, a person, a place, or a thing, and end up finding the right job, person, place, or thing down the road and thinking, rejection was protection. Thank God it didn't work out. I would say the majority of the time you got to be proactive in that. You got to learn the lesson. Why did the job not work out? What did you need to do better? What part did you play? Can you clean up your side of the street? And then you reapproach more intelligently, right? Now, there are some circumstances that it is 100% fate for sure. I would actually liken adopting my daughter to that. It was 2.5 years of pure hell trying to get through the international adoption process. Was just about to give up and had all the other things that went wrong along the way not gone wrong, right? I never would have ended up finding her. But just about everything else, every other loss, every other failure, every other setback required me going, what did I do to contribute to this? What do I need to do better next time?
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And another question is, you've built up a huge brand. Is there anything an entrepreneur shouldn't do to build a brand?
Shouldn't do. Don't compromise your principles. Don't. So I'll give you an example that is far less alluring to me now than it would have been back in the beginning of my career. But it's a mistake that I never made. So there was an opportunity, or there is an opportunity for me to endorse a low calorie version of some popular alcohol. I have no problem with that, as long as it doesn't have artificial colors, artificial sweeteners, fake fats, fake flavors. If it's just a lower calorie version of the alcohol, then fine. Drink in moderation. If it's a better for you choice, by all means choose it. But if I immediately go, oh, it's got artificial sugar in it, but you're offering me $500,000 for one day of work, sure. Like, everybody will know that I'm full of shit, that I don't actually care about them. I don't actually care about my message. I just am in it for the paycheck. And trust me, there are plenty of paychecks down the road that will come with integrity. And in fact, you'll be getting paychecks for longer if you have integrity. So you can take that quick fix, but it might be the last paycheck you ever take.
I see. So is there anything else you would like to point out, what I didn't ask, but you think it's quite important on your way of success?
I mean, look, there are many different factors that play in, right? There have been thousands, hundreds of thousands probably of books written on this subject matter. But if I was to identify some key components, it would obviously be, look, reframe your thought process. So recognize that this will take work. This will take sacrifice. This will take time. It has to be worth it. You have to know going in, it won't be easy. There is no such thing as overnight success. You won't start a YouTube channel and start making hundreds of thousands of dollars in advertising overnight. No, it's the playing field is not fair, right? Life is not fair. So you're going to have to tolerate things that aren't fair. You're going to have to work harder than everybody else, longer than everybody else, do better than everybody else. This is part of being successful. This is the reality of it. And if you don't like the reality of it, maybe building a brand is not for you. So it's just, these are the facts. Does that make sense? Like, I'd love to be like, oh, but you just love it and just really love it. If you build it, they will come. But it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It takes a hell of a lot of time. It can take years for the door to open. But when it does, and it will, you better be prepared for it. Because that's the difference between getting in the room and staying in the room, or opening up the door, saying hello, and getting it slammed in your face. You'll get that moment, but you got to work for it. You got to wait for it. And then when it arrives, you got to work as hard, if not digging in even a level deeper to get there and stay there. Because once you're there, that's when everybody tries to take you down. It just adds a whole separate level of pressure. So that is the reality of it. You got to know that going in and be willing to do the work.
So it's mindset and hard working to get there and to stay there.
Yeah, it really is. It's just hard ass work. And if that means learning new skills, getting a mentor, finding a team, getting help, it's hard ass work. It is. If you're willing to do that work for as long as it takes, then yes, success will be inevitable, but it's hard work.
I see. So you have a lot of different kind of companies you run. So would you say there is something like a formula for success, something that never changes in all those processes?
If I had to, and by the way, some things don't work, right? There are some things where you're like, all right, I learned a lesson here. And I applied the 3 Ps, right? Of like, I was passionate, I persevered, I was patient. But there's some things that don't work. And then you take the lesson you learned and you apply it to the next thing, kind of, which goes back to our first conversation, right? So if you keep going by applying it to the next venture, then inevitably it will be successful, or you will be successful. So we had a company we started called Active Connection. And it was a social network for people to find each other that like to be active. And they're like, oh, we're going to meet up for a dance class. We're going to meet up for a hike. This is a running group. We put a ton of money, a ton of time into it. We were passionate about it. We were patient. We persevered. And then meetup.com launched with millions of dollars of venture capital, right? It was done. It was over. It was finished. It would have been, good money after bad, right? But we took what we learned, we took the platform, we took the tech information, we took all the knowledge we gleaned about the space, and we rolled it into the Jillian Michaels fitness app. So then I kept going, I kept persevering. That was 10 years ago, right? And now my app is hugely successful. But that project wasn't successful, which kind of goes back to the beginning of like, all right, big failure. How did we not know about this? How did we miss this? Was this all under NDA? Like, what happened here, right? We made a bunch of mistakes, but we took the lesson, learned it, and then reapproached more intelligently with something that works.
And what would you say, how much pioneering spirit do you need on the way?
How much, what?
Pioneering spirit. To think like a pioneer.
Oh, pioneering spirit. I'm so sorry. I misunderstood you for a second. Pioneering spirit. A lot. a tremendous amount. Yeah. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's a harder path. It's very rewarding, but it's a difficult path to walk, and it's not for everyone, and that's okay. Some people prefer to like check in and check out. You don't get to do that as an entrepreneur. You are always checked in. Period. You answer your emails. I don't care if it's Sunday at 1 a.m. answer your email or get out of the business than take a 9 to 5 job. Because the entrepreneur that does answer their emails at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, and you can preach to me about work-life balance all you want. I'm going with the guy that answers his emails at 1 o'clock on a Sunday morning. That's the guy I want to work with. Now, again, you want to take a paycheck, take a paycheck. That's okay. There's no shame in that, but know who you are. If you're not the guy that will answer an email at any point, at any time, you're not an entrepreneur. You're not. There is no work-life balance as an entrepreneur.
That sounds really hard, but it is actually.
It is, you know, I mean, it is, period. It's a sacrifice. It pays off in other ways, but that is the reality. It's like, dude, you think there's not a million other people out there, especially, you know, in this global community we live in now, where I can access any professional at any point working from anywhere. I don't even need to pull from a bunch of people working in Los Angeles. I can hire a person in Sydney, Australia if I want to, if they're the best at the job. They'll work from home. Tech allows that. It's 10 times harder now, 10 times. So if you're not willing to do that work, you're just not going to be the one. That is, I'm sorry, it's the crappy reality of it, but it's the truth. Somebody who's willing to do it is going to outplay you every time.
So it's not just the will, but how to keep the breath on the way, to stay in the level, you know?
To maintain, you mean the endurance to stick with it? You got to be passionate about it. You've got to be passionate about it. If you're passionate about it, then that work has purpose, right? And the purpose becomes passion. The passion is the why that allows you to tolerate the how, which is the work and the sacrifice associated with the goal.
Thank you so much, Jillian. That was
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too.